Hello and welcome to Who is the Red Queen? A little visual novel developed by For Noki. And it seems to be inspired by Alice in the Wonderland. I guess we'll see what it's about. Definitely horror themed. You know, you see the blood over here. And also definitely a lot of mature themes, I believe. I believe there's gore, and mentions of suicide and things like that. There was a warning when you open up the game, but I wanted to show the title screen first, so maybe I'll show it again. But anyway, let's start. Oop. Yeah, not for. This is not for kids, basically. Not meant to be anyway. All right, but falling, I was falling. Down this rabbit hole with no start nor end, I was falling. Where had I gone? Where could I go? As if I were forgetting something very important, I fell down, down, and down through a sparkling, shining darkness, too bright to be dark, too dark to be bright. I must have been chasing after someone, after something. Like a girl whose curiosity has piqued by a rabbit with a watch, I was falling, down, 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 again, again, again. This endless well seemed to lead everywhere yet nowhere at once. Either the hole extended very deep or I descended very slow. Was I truly even going downward? Perhaps this was all a dream, a fever dream, or in more words, a fantasy that would be as soon forgotten as it was had. I held just one certainty. I was Alice. Alice was me. Now then, just how long was I supposed to keep falling? Well, for as long as this, dialogue keeps going about you falling. The air brushed past my fingers, my cloak ruffling upward. A quiet humming breeze caressed my cheek. Or yeah, as a humming breeze caressed my cheek. As if I could hear someone's voice, a pleasant voice, a woman's voice. I strained my ears for whispers in the wind. Alice, what a time for madness. What a bit of fear or vertigo should you not have focused on topics more pressing. Like the darkness of the light or how you could awaken from this dream. But even now, you were just falling. What does it matter? With a thump, I came upon soft grass and the fall was over. A good thing you don't take fall damage here. Not a bit hurt, I forced myself to my feet. Up above my head, the firmament whence I fell had not a tear in its blue canvas. Down upon my eyes, only familiar unfamiliar surround me. I started on an exploratory stroll. Here's a rabbit. Soon I stumbled upon a rabbit who looked like a girl and a girl who looked like a rabbit. Perhaps the correct answer was that she was both a girl and a rabbit. Not lingering much longer on the species of the rabbit before me, I called out to her. Excuse me. Oh no, that was Alice actually. I thought it was her because she was moving, so you boop boop, So for some reason I thought she was talking, but no. Excuse me. Where was this place? Why was I here? How could I leave to return home? I thought of what to ask her, but she recognized me as soon as I spoke, so my questions were lost in my mouth, unasked. What? What? Why did I say what? Alice, rather? Not what? I can't read. My mind is being destroyed. Alice? Why, Rabbit? Have you seen Her Majesty? Do you know where she's gone? Where she could go? Her Majesty, the Red Queen, she must be taking a vacation of sorts. I only wish that she could have left this little rabbit a note. I'm in a bit of a panic, you see. The land can't run without its queen. Please let me know if you catch sight of her. I nodded. Who this Red Queen was, I had not a clue, but a tingling deja vu. But my acceptance of the request let the white rabbit breathe out a sigh of relief. Just as I prepared to pose my own question, she straightened her back in surprise. I'm afraid I have to go. I'm going to be late. And obviously, it just reminds me of the Disney movie, Though the original Alice in Wonderland is actually a lot darker than the Disney movie. But anyway, the white rabbit dashed off. I wanted to ask some questions. Never mind. Follow her, Alice. Although I chased after her with only a moment's pause, when I turned the corner she was nowhere to be seen. I found myself in the garden, meticulously kept. Tailing the rabbit, I barely dashed a few paces. I had realized such a place was so close by. Rather, I hadn't realized I had run this far. A conjecture tickled my mind that this world I fell into was a magical place, one with paths that pointed to one way but twisted to another. What an explanation, much more far-fetched than me just not knowing where I was running. I took a moment to catch my breath. Glancing around, I began my walk about the garden. Flowers and greenery all around, but not a person in sight. This place was beautiful. I wanted to meet the person who made it. Not quite a gardening person myself, I still appreciated a pretty place, and felt a swelling excitement to explore what sights could be seen. A reminder of reality then dampened my joyful curiosity. I wanted some answers, a way out and back home. As pleasant as dreams were, one had to be able to awaken from them before they turned into nightmares. Whether this was a dream or reality had still yet to be seen. Step, step, I walked around. Hop, hop, I peered over the bushes. Soon enough I discovered the heart of the garden where one might sit for tea. I spotted the white-haired girl in the garden. To amend my previous thoughts, would it be right to say that I rather also appreciate a pretty person? Frivolous thoughts flew from my mind as our eyes met. Her gaze seemed to beckon me over, so over I went to speak with her. "Are you enjoying the garden?" says the White Queen. "The garden is beautiful." "The gardener will be happy to hear that from you. However, if you come here now, you should be searching for something. We should first introduce ourselves. I am the White Queen." Just like with the rabbit, for reasons unclear to me, I already knew who she was. Here, that should be as good as a name. "Your Majesty, my name is Alice." "Don't stand on ceremony, Alice. I'm not someone you need to speak with particularly respectfully. Welcome to my garden in Wonderland." "Wonderland." I taste the word on my tongue. I can't remember why or how I'm here. Not this garden, but Wonderland. I was falling, and I couldn't remember why I was falling. I was simply falling until I fell no more. I'm sure I've forgotten something very important. You needn't force yourself to remember. Some things are better left forgotten. Perhaps it was fated for you to come here. Perhaps something is missing that you must find. This world must appear like a place of dreams. You should find the Red Queen. This missing queen whom the White Rabbit mentioned was the Red Queen. I waited for the White Queen to continue. She hesitated to speak of the Red Queen, as if the elusive royal would appear like a ghost behind her as she spoke. I tried to imagine what sort of person the Red Queen was. She will let you return to your own reality. When you meet her, you should be able to find all of the answers you are seeking for. As for where she is, that's for you to discover. Do you dislike her? That's a difficult question, Alice. So she's like that. I'll let you judge her yourself. You might learn something new about yourself. Shall I head off to find her now? Why not stay here for some tea? Of course I'd love to, but it's not quite afternoon tea time yet. A later time then. Certainly to have tea outside tea time wouldn't do. I won't keep you for too much longer, Alice. I'm sure you'll be able to find that person soon enough. Until later. Later. I waved goodbye to the White Queen and departed from her garden. Glancing back, I saw her gaze linger upon me. I stepped onto a twisting path near the forest. I didn't know which way to go to find the elusive Red Queen, turning left and right. Hey Risa, thanks for resubscribing. Alice in Wonderland is just another isekai? Change your mind? Yeah, well, I guess so. It's the original isekai, maybe? I wonder if it is. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Probably a lot of stories about entering a different world. Did Shakespeare ever make an isekai? I don't know. Anyway. But we're in the forest. To find a queen, I thought to seek a castle. However, the rabbit said that the queen was missing, so unless the rabbit had also forgotten something very important, the queen should have been at the castle. The Red Queen, she seemed like a troubling person. The way the White Queen's face froze, tongue stuttering along, at the topic of the Red Queen made me wonder, was the latter queen a tyrant or a fool? The tutor at home liked to talk about kingship of that sort. To me, either or neither were fine. After all, who were the peasantry to affect the mood of a high queen? I hummed and walked along with a skip in my step. Just as I reached a rhythm in my stride, I kicked a little something. An animal? That threw me off my beat. I slowed to applaud, my mood a note dampened. Soon I heard a chatter of a girl a few trees away. Seeing now my civilization here in the forest, I followed the voice of the girl. Although she was chatting, I heard her voice alone. Okay, well here's the Mad Hatter. I was thinking something about the tea party and something about that happening in the original, right? I passed by a few bushes and soon enough I found a tea party in the middle of nowhere. At a table set before a tree sat the girl. By the way, every character is a girl, but every character is an anime girl somehow. Hello there, Alice. What did you come here for? Her chatter ceased. Her mismatched eyes pierced through me in its place. There's no room here at the table, so don't take a seat. No room, no room. She moved the puppets in her hand, a sleepy mouse and a mad hare. Looking right to left, I could barely see the ends of the table set for tea. One person in such a large space. Conversely, she almost seemed lonely. There's plenty of room, Hatter. To make my point, I took a seat in a large armchair across from the Hatter. The chair stunk of flowers as if to clear away the shadow of an unpleasant previous sitter. I sat back into it comfortably. Then I kept sinking before I jolted back up with a shallow gasp. Three's plenty a crowd. That's rude of you to say, Alice. Not very civil of you to sit down without being invited either. But whatever. Let's just treat you as our extra guest for tomorrow. Not today? Aren't they the same? Yesterday, tomorrow, today, tomorrow. Every day is never a day different. But since I'd rather not deal with it today, we just treat it as for tomorrow. Dormouse and March don't mind. You mentioned 3, but I only see 1. She wiggled the puppets on her hands as if to explain everything. 1 was herself, 2 was the first puppet, 3 was the second puppet. I'm scared Alice might be blind. That's a side effect of being Alice. Don't worry. It's just a side effect of being Alice. The pitch of her voice warped. Don't mind their comments. She's Dormouse and he March Hare. Okay, this is confusing though, actually, because I don't know how to read her voice. I guess sometimes she's speaking through the puppets. I don't know. She paused as if waiting for me to greet the animal puppets. I waited. She waited. The silence of the conversation bored me, so I relented to the Mad Hatter's wordless request. I was their guest for tomorrow, so a polite guest I decided to be. Well, hello there. I was scared she was deaf as well. Okay, now she's speaking for the puppet. Hello there, Alice. Between the puppets, I much preferred the Dormouse. If a puppet could fall asleep, she looked as if she was about to do so. I felt some pity as that meant that March Hare would speak more. What were we talking about before? A riddle? Maybe it was this one. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Do you have an answer to that riddle? You're no fun, Alice. Relax and have some wine. There's no wine. You were invited for tea tomorrow, Alice. It's the obligation of the host to offer a guest a drink at tea time. Maybe she was an alcoholic. Hatter, I can't in good faith call this time of day tea time, nor can I call alcohol tea. Details. Add some butter. It'll be tea time eventually, so it's tea time now. We're having tea, so it might as well be tea time, don't you think? What did you come here for anyways? Although I couldn't quite say that I'd come to this tea party with a goal in mind, I figured I might as well tell her. I'm searching for the Red Queen. It's the title of the game, who's the Red Queen? Well, I guess it's who, not where, but anyway. Her brow contorted as she took a sip of her tea. Puppet sat down for just that moment. Dumping the tea away and rinsing the cup, she poured herself another drink. Oh, her. The Hatter placed her lips to the rim of her teacup and stared at me. A minute passed, all 60 seconds consisting of staring, before she ducked down under the table as if to find an item and popped back up again. Stay and chat for a little. I'll help you with a little something regarding Her Majesty. The Hatter poured me a cup of tea and slid over a plate of sandwiches. A plate hurtled toward me, forcing me to hurriedly grab it lest sandwiches spilled all over my lap. Luckily, the cup of tea arrived much more calmly. I took a taste, finding Earl Grey. Is it tomorrow already? At the very least, it was in time for afternoon tea. If I knew I would have tea now, I would have stayed a little longer to have some with the White Queen as well. It was not that people couldn't have tea outside of afternoon tea, but it was a principle of things. If people drank tea any time of day, they would drink it all day. Okay. I sipped some more, enjoying the citrusy flavor of this black tea. Today is tomorrow for yesterday, don't you think? Unless she doesn't think. That would have been rude of you to ask. Okay, actually, I get confused sometimes. Mad Hatter and March Hare. I don't know. They both start with the same letters, so I get mixed up. But yeah, the hair is talking this thing. Oh, she's just normal. Orthogonal? I'm certainly sitting up quite straight. But regarding the Red Queen, do you have some news about her? I'd say I have some business for her instead. Something to do with meat and flesh and all the other red things that a Red Queen might have to do with. Aren't you a hatter? Yes? Not a butcher. Unless your meat is made out of hat. While talking about all things unappetizing, I took a bite out of a sandwich filled with an ambiguous color. A milky sweetness melted in my mouth. I tasted some sort of fruit inside. Maybe it was mango or kiwi or strawberry. Mango? I don't know why, but you know how people make jokes about manga and manga or something? I just somehow... Now the word mango is like... And mango is like... I don't know what the right pronunciation is anymore. Because of that. Anyway. Satisfied with the pleasant sweetness, I took another sip of tea. This tea and these sandwiches are delicious. Thank you, Alice. You made them. Compliments to you, then. Wow, such flattery. Since you put me in a good mood, I guess we can go ahead with Her Majesty's matter. In fact, she's been sitting here with us the whole time. I sat up even straighter in confusion. Glancing around, I saw no queens in sight, not a human nor animal besides the two of us here. The Hatter rolled a chair over and pulled a cloth off from over the chair's holdings. Ta-da! Nausea ran up my spine. On the chair sat a chunk of meat dressed up in tattered human clothes. I guess you pronounce it mango. Mango? Anyway. Still dripping red, the flesh seemed to ripple, undulating. Was it rotting or was it still alive? My head spun as I squinted at the thing. This meat. No. This thing resembled a human torso, with half a neck and chopped off limbs. Dolled up with what could have been fancy clothes, this was surely human flesh. Ah, yes. I sensed an odd familiarity to the torso, but also felt as if I was looking at it from an incorrect angle. This was the torso of a regal woman. This was raw human flesh. This is the Red Queen? An inappropriate question flitted across my mind. Could we consider it as sitting as if it didn't have legs? I suppose yes. Okay. I thought you said you weren't a butcher, Hatter. We definitely couldn't consider this a hat. Having just eaten, the strawberry taste in my mouth turned to a meaty texture like raw pork. I could almost taste sweet, rotten fat. Delicious blood. I swallowed. Can't waste those calories. I wondered if the Hatter wanted to make me sick. That went downhill fast. I mean, yeah, I think I mentioned it when you opened the game, you know. It did warn you about gore, so there you go. We don't get to see it, though. Just a description. Yes, I'm a hatter. I closed my eyes and rubbed the bridge of my nose. Too distracted by the surprise, the feeling in my fingers almost felt like wet ground meat, even though I was sure that my digits were still attached to my palm. The image lingered uncomfortably behind my eyelids. Not with disgust, but with another inexplicable emotion, a negative one for sure. I looked at the torso again and it seemed so still. I saw exposed bone and a shattered trachea. How you say that? Trachea? The cut must not have been wholly clean. Made with a blade sharper, not quite enough yet also dulled. Or what? I don't know, I read that weirdly. Made with a blade sharpened, not quite enough yet? Or made with a blade sharpened, not quite enough yet. I can't read the sentence. Made with a blade sharpened, not quite enough yet also dulled, not quite enough. Okay, I don't know. This is a hard sentence to read. Yes, this was the Red Queen. She's a torso. I knew not why I knew, but a voice in the back of my head told me that this was the Red Queen, a part of the Red Queen. Do we have to put her back together or something? We gotta find her legs and her hands and her head. I'm afraid Her Majesty can't speak right now. The Hatter stirred her tea and popped a bite-sized sandwich into her mouth, munching happily. Don't look like that, Alice. The Hatter didn't dismember Her Majesty. Yes, Hatter is innocent. Since only the Hatter spoke up in defense of herself, I wasn't particularly inclined to believe her. But whether or not she did kill the Red Queen, the end result sat before me. What should I do now? I murmured my uncertainty at the dead end aloud. Or at this dead end aloud. What do you mean? All you have to do is find all of the other pieces. If you have anything you need Her Majesty for, all you need to do is put her back together. I mean, that's what I said. Have you forgotten, Alice? That sounded mad. So mad I wanted to laugh. This is Wonderland, after all. All I needed to do was find the pieces. That was right, Alice. That was all you needed to do. It would either be terribly simple or terribly hard. I hope that no one had fed the Red Queen to the pigs with Minster up for a patty. Regardless, all I really needed was a head and a torso if I wanted to talk to her, to ask her about the secrets to returning home. May I take the body with me? Alice, you are a civilized girl. Did you really want to lug around a piece of meat like you are some meat seller selling to the cannibals? No, that would be fair, don't you think? Once you find most of our parts, let's just say the limbs, I'll give you a special present and help you out again. She patted a box off to the side of the table. The box was just big enough for a cat or a cake or maybe something like a hat. Of course, don't peek or try to find out what the present is. It wouldn't be a surprise like that, and I'll be very, very upset if you cheat. With that smile on her face, I couldn't see her upset. Only muddled sincerity came through her voice. Now then, I've got to grab something off the stove before it burns. The Hatter got up from her seat and walked away. Here I was alone with the Red Queen's flesh. It was missing all 4 limbs and a head, so to make her whole, I would need to find 5 parts. I also would like to save real quick. Can I just save real quick? Nothing suspicious, just saving the game. I hope that my search will be easy. Seeing as the Hatter was nowhere in sight, I contemplated I contemplated a decision regarding that curious box on the table. The Mad Hatter did literally say not to touch the box, or she'll be very upset, but how upset can she be? She's just some crazy anime girl with puppets. We're just gonna sneak around, peek. Don't worry about the blood, by the way, in the decision box. Boop. I tiptoed over to the other side of the table and surveyed what was around. I couldn't help but feel the headless slab of human watching me, but I ignored the Red Queen's body, knowing that I would be seeing it often for a while. Looking over my shoulder, I ascertained the Hatter had yet to return. What's in this loot box? I moved to find the present box on the cluttered table. The Hatter hadn't tied up the box particularly at all. I could have opened it and closed it as if I had never disturbed this mysterious prize to begin with. I cracked open a small gap so nothing could come flying out. Nothing escaped from the box. Instead, I heard a strange strangled noise from whatever lied inside, a gurgling, drowning voice that caused chills to settle on the back of my neck. In one go, I took the lid off of the box. Inside was a head, a bloody head. The head seemed so familiar, but I couldn't quite make out the face, as if the box had been jostled. I squinted. Spinning, the world was spinning. A sharp pain burst in my temple, and I rested the palm on my head to stop a growing, pulsing headache in my skull. I reached out a shaking hand to adjust the head in the box. Step, step, step. Footsteps interrupted me. I thought I only just said not to peek, Alice. The Hatter brandished a hammer in her hand, the head and face a glowing red as it had been left on the stove. Cheaters get what cheaters deserve. You're now going to get bonked and get banned from this hammer. You get the ban hammer. I backed up, crashing into the table, nearly tripping on my own cloak. She raised her arm with the hammer in hand and... crack. Dead end. There you go. There's dead endings in this game. Isn't that exciting? There you go. See, 9% of the script? Interesting. Alright, so let's not do that. How about we just don't do that? You know? Probably a good idea, right? So this time, let's not cheat and get VAC banned. Instead, let's listen to the Hatter. I shook my head. Instead of antagonizing the Hatter needlessly, I decided to take another sip of the tea. I would see what was inside the box eventually. The Hatter returned soon enough. In her hand was a hammer glowing bright with heat. She chucked it to the side with a thump and let the metal sizzle on the ground. She doesn't have to use it for it now this time. What was the hammer for? Does a hammer need a reason to be? Anyways, go ahead and try to find some of the Red Queen's body. An arm, a head, or maybe two. Just bring them back here for me to attach to this. She pointed to the torso, casually. It'll still be tea time when you come back. Let's just count you as an extra guest for the next tomorrow as well. To be exact with time, now was not tea time. I suppose there's not much else to do here. I looked at my empty cup of Earl Grey and lifted myself up from the armchair. For what it was worth, I quite enjoyed this odd hour tea. Shaking my legs just to make sure they hadn't fallen asleep, I started to leave. Until later. If Weiterheisen... What? What's that? Is that German? I don't know. If I can't say that word. Weiterheisen? It looks German to me. She leaned back into her chair and made a lazy wave my way. Somehow she looked lonely. I know. We're gonna leave her to her craziness. Instead, we're gonna go somewhere else to find some limbs. It's an adventure! Yay! I returned to another forest path, walking forward and forward. After moving for a while, I realized that I had no idea where I was going. In simpler words, I was lost. I walked around a few circles before looking upward. Okay, it's a cat girl, good. Above, I saw a cat. A cat who resembled a girl, or a girl who resembled a cat, because everybody has to be an anime girl somehow. She literally stood on a tall branch of a tree. Unlike the white rabbit, this cat, how you say actually? I've seen the word before. I've actually never pronounced it. Cheshire cat. I don't know. Cheshire cat. I couldn't help but wonder if she was actually neither a cat nor a girl, was just pretending to be one. Ah yes, more random German. Oh yeah, just like Fate's Day Night, you know? Just like when Rin just says random German when she does her special spells. Also my chair's a little loose, you know? Anyway, I keep like leaning back sometimes. The chair just like drops, or you know? It just reclines. This is not a very good office chair. You know, to get like a good office chair, you gotta buy like a Herman Miller or something. That's expensive. That's like thousands of dollars. No way I'm gonna spend that much money for an office chair, but It would be nice though, because this chair that I have, not exactly, the best quality. Anyway, I met her cat eyes nodding in silent greeting. The grin stretched across her face as she stared back. Sharp teeth filled her mouth, and claws adorned her hands. They looked more like long nails, but anyway. This was probably a cat. Cheshire. Cheshire? Is it Cheshire? Cheshire. The flame that was her tail flickered as she hopped down to meet me closer. I don't suppose you tell me which way I should go. I posed a silly question that I expected no answer for. After all, I was asking a cat for directions. Depends where you want to go. To my surprise, I received a response. To find the Red Queen. Ah, the crazy one. Are you sure you prefer not to go with the nice one? The one I'm searching for is the Red Queen. Alright, the Mad Queen. Then again, we're all mad around here. That is except for Her Majesty the White Queen. She's too sad to be mad. If you're looking for the Red Queen, up, up, down, down, left, right, select start might help. You just enter the Konami code, you see. Self-awareness, Alice, self-awareness. The Cheshire Cat vanished into thin air. Soon enough, she reappeared. Just go to the White Queen instead. Maybe you'll find something along the way. She started to fade away again before popping back. I forgot to ask, how's the Hatter doing? She seems to be fine. It's still tea time over there. It's always tea time with that one. A third time she disappeared, leaving a grin lingering in the air before that too vanished. This was a grin without a cat instead of a cat without a grin. And the writing is weird, by the way. I mean, I guess it's trying to capture the style of Alice in the Wonderland, by the way. Sometimes it just turns into like a weird, nursery rhyme, I feel like, just halfway. I don't know. The third time was the charm and the cat did not return. I can't say I've seen a cat quite like that before. And again, Cheshire wasn't really a cat. Walking a few tree lengths more, I mulled over the odd advice she gave. Okay, I don't know which one's the correct option, to be honest. Which one gets us killed? Because that's the one I'm interested in, to be honest. Sure, let's go up, up, down, down, left, right. I tried to remember just what the Cheshire Cat had said, speaking the pattern directions aloud to the beat. Up, up, down, down, left, right? I felt as if I had missed a few items, but that was all that the cat had given. I backtracked to the positions where I met the cat and followed the recommended directions. Soon enough, I found myself at a crossroad. I saw no limbs nor heads in sight. Left was labeled right, right was labeled left with wrongly written signboards. I chose at random on where to go next. Every few meters, I found a new signboard with its own quaintly marked arrow. Whether or not they led to the right place was another issue. I slowed my pace to read the signs and follow them along. Today's a rainy day. I didn't know which genius thought to put a forecast onto a wooden sign on the side of the road, but I followed the directions to go right regardless. The sky had not a drop of rain in sight. A warning cliff ahead. As it had happened, neither was there a cliff ahead. Watch out for dragons. Also for dungeons. I looked for the dragons, but the dragons did not arrive. Shameful. At some point, the text on the signs turned to insults. Fool. You don't even know who you are. Stop following these signs. How many of these will you read? I walked and walked and walked. At the end of the final sign in the chain, I reached a clearing in the forest where I spotted the white rabbit talking with a limb. Oh, okay. Your Majesty's left arm, please. I blinked and blinked again. By rubbing my eyes, I saw the same image. The white rabbit seemed just about to prostrate herself to a living, moving arm. The arm, despite being an arm, had taken the higher position. The ground here is dirty. You needn't crawl here. Shall I take you back to the palace? Or would you prefer to go to the garden or the courtroom? In fact, do you happen to know where Her Majesty is? The arm smacked the white rabbit. Ah! Did she just get slapped? Although I silently observed, the arm noticed me and began to crawl over, one handful of grass at a time. It moved like a snake, like a worm, like a piece of flesh and bone that shouldn't have been able to move. Its writhing struggle sent a shiver up my spine. I didn't know if I should pick it up or kick it away. I did neither and it reached my feet. The arm proceeded to climb up my leg, up my cloak, clinging like some sort of dirty parasite, making its slow way up until I pushed past my building disgust to hold it in my hand instead. The flesh felt cold in my palm. I sensed no heartbeat at the wrist. Alice, Her Majesty's arm seems to have taken a liking to you. What a cute little pet. If you find Her Majesty, please return the limb to her and tell her that her rabbit did her best. I pray she hasn't met any trouble. A limb coming off isn't an everyday occurrence, you know. She made quite the understatement. Yes, of course. How do you know it was the Red Queen's arm? I would recognize Her Majesty's limbs anywhere. Do you admire her very much? Yes, of course. I respect Her Majesty very much. She united Wonderland into this kingdom and kept peace with a watchful gaze on the criminal populace. She's a decisive ruler and holds an agreeable worldview. This should be her divine right to rule Wonderland. I've heard a cat call her mad. A dangerous expression flashed through the White Rabbit's eyes for barely a second. The Cheshire Cat is a known problem element here. If Her Majesty is mad, then such madness is in essence brilliance. Although I may not always be fated to be a favorite courtier, to be an aide to her is my greatest honor. I cannot be White Rabbit without Her Majesty. Yes, that should be how I view Her Majesty. I gave the rabbit's impromptu speech a short round of applause, clap, 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 balancing the detached arm in the crook of my elbow. The rabbit became flustered. She must also like you very much. All rulers had their dissidents and supporters. A certain man once said that a ruler was better feared than loved if she could not be both. Despite all that the White Rabbit said, I knew a little more about the Red Queen. The Red Queen is the ruler of all this land. What's your job, White Rabbit? Yes, she is the highest ruler of the Wonderland. I deal with a little bit of everything. Administrative matters, legal matters, and the personal matters of important people. Since we met a few times, I could say that I'm important, couldn't I? That's right, Alice. To my tepid jest, I received a response that made me pause. The White Rabbit took out a watch and jumped in surprise upon looking at the time, quickly returning the watch to her pocket. Is it this time already? I'm afraid I must be off again, if that would be all. Thank you, Alice. Hurriedly bowing a few times, she danced off back to work. Having obtained one limb, I searched around for another, as you do. Before I knew it, the day has passed. I looked up toward the sky where the sun had begun to set. Letting out a yawn, I realized I needed a place to sleep for the night. I thought back to the parties who had helped me onto my venture to gather the Red Queen's dismembered parts. Surely I could find one of them. What a weird sentence, because we only have one person to really go to. Maybe this is like a thing that happens often, but later on we get to have more options maybe. The same text? I don't know. Anyway, let's go back to the Hatter, I guess. I headed back to the Hatter's place. As before, I found her at a table full of tea stuffs. She nursed a cup of tea and waved at me upon spotting me. Just in time for tea, Alice. From the sky, tea time should have already passed. Perhaps this was more like supper time, so I only flashed her a smile without saying anything. I've returned with a limb, as you do. Congratulations! I handed her the Red Queen's limb, which began to move upon entering the Hatter's hand. Holding it away from herself, the Hatter seemed to think of what to do with it next. She kicked the dog cage out from under a chair, clicking the metal hatch open. She tossed the limb into it and quickly flicked the cage shut again. Sit down. I'd be a poor host if I didn't let you sit. I plopped down into the armchair. This was my chair now. I glanced around and found I didn't see the two puppets that the Hatter wore in her hands earlier in the day. Where are your friends? I gestured with my hands. They've gone home for a bit. March lives all the way over in the house of ears. As for whose ears they are, I haven't a clue. Are you hungry for rodent, Alice? No. If you say so, Alice. She poured me a cup of tea and slid the tea, cup and saucer over to me, nearly spilling it over my lap. Soon after came another plate. On the plate was steak and vegetables. I should hope this isn't rodent, is it? It's something else. The hatter didn't continue but glanced over the Red Queen's flesh. My eyes followed the path of her gaze, not spotting any steak-sized slabs of meat sliced off from the torso of the queen I sought. I let out a sigh. Taking a knife and fork, I cut the steak and moved a piece to my mouth. It tasted like beef. Delicious. Soylent green. Compliments to the chef. Why, thank you. We ate together. For a hatter, her table manners with the forks and knives were impeccable, but each time I thought to compliment them, she went and said something odd again. The hatter was a mystery to unravel. I don't have a place to stay for the night, so I wanted to ask if you would put up with me with me for the night. I put up with you all the time. What difference does night make? Where I come from, people sleep at night. Sleep? You can sleep underneath the table, or spread a blanket on the ground, or just sleep on that armchair you're sitting in now. Isn't sleep just when you pretend to be dead like everyone else? Is this why you don't sleep? The hatter had terrible bags under her eyes. As I doubted she slept too much, she could only have been sleeping too little. Look at the time. Is it really time to sleep? Napping at tea time will destroy your inner clock, don't you know? Morning, afternoon, evening. Since it's all tea time, it's better not to sleep. I thought you didn't care about time. Time doesn't care about me. Are you perhaps afraid of sleeping? What do you think, Alice? Man, a lot of dialogue is very confusing, but like, it kind of fits, I guess, because this is how the original Alice in Wonderland was, you know? It really is. It's really confusing. She poured herself a drink from a bottle into her teacup. I turned to look at the bottle, which was in no way for tea. I couldn't read the jumbled words scrawled across its label, so I couldn't help but ask, is that actually alcohol? Tea! Isn't it alcohol? Tea! She drank her tea and I didn't mind. Well, it's alcoholic tea, I guess. Maybe. The conversation turned to silence. I shouldn't have pushed and upset my dear host. I wanted to pet her head and apologize for she could drink or sleep as she wanted. As I reached out, the hatter recoiled. She pushed her chair back from the table, taking the chance to move away. Then she dipped underneath the tablecloth, rummaging through her stuff with a rustling noise. When she popped back out, she held a blanket, which she tossed my way. Did you want to pretend to be dead right now? Go, play dead. Catching it in my arms, I smelled a sweet scent from the soft blanket. The sky was dark. I started to feel sleepy, hugging the blanket a little tighter. I had experienced a long day after all, so perhaps it was time to go to bed. Good night, Hatter. I wondered if she was mad, if she would respond, but she did. Good night, Alice. I leaned back comfortably in the armchair and began to sink. Sinking. Contrary to my earliest expectations, I didn't keep sinking forever. The moment I looked up at the sky, I found I couldn't fall asleep anymore. I didn't recognize the stars, the constellations that adorn the dark heavens. Tracing their infinite sparkles, I wondered who they stood for. I wanted to understand what was hidden past those mismatched eyes of the hatter. While counting the stars, I eventually fell asleep. I dreamed the following. The next day and the day after, I continued my search for the Red Queen's parts. Remembering that the Cheshire Cat mentioned the White Queen, I decided to give the Queen a second visit. I thought that I could easily replicate the route to her garden, having only recently been there. However, the more I walked, the more apparent it became that I was lost. I passed that tree to the right a handful of times already. I was going in circles, getting nowhere closer to that beautiful garden and its equally pretty owner. I let out a sigh and chose a bush at random to walk through instead of following a path. My cloak saved me from being scratched by the leaves and branches of the bushes. I came out on the other side to a particularly tall tree and a large birdcage. Alright. Animation, by the way. I spotted the White Queen inside the birdcage. Behind her was a limb, a leg. I don't see it in the CG. Come on, developer doesn't draw the the gore, directly. I feel like, except, well, they showed us a bit of a head, I guess, but otherwise didn't show us much else. Hello, we meet again, Alice. I hadn't expected that I would be trapped here again. I'm a little embarrassed that you're seeing me like this. I contemplated just asking you for the leg and leaving. No, that would be a terribly foul thing to do, especially to a pretty person like her. Although in a way it almost seemed like a good idea to leave a pretty bird locked up in a cage all for oneself. After all, how would you catch her if you let her go free? Is that the Red Queen's right leg? So it would appear. To find the Red Queen, you may have to find her parts as well. Even so, she should be able to help you find your way back home. I'm sorry, Alice. Don't apologize. The key to my prison is atop the towering tree. Would you help me open this cage, Alice? Yes, of course. Agreeing to the request, I walked over to the tall tree that the White Queen gestured toward. How tall it was, I couldn't say. If I angled my head and squinted, I could see the glimmering of a silver key at a high branch above. I circled the tree, the front and the back, the sides left and right. They all looked equally hard to climb. As I pondered on how to scale the tree, a little bird approached. Chirp chirp, says the small bird. Of all the talking animals and not quite animals in Wonderland, I had an inkling that this one might speak as well. Perhaps it spoke French, like a French bird. Bonjour? Bonjour! Unfortunately, I knew a little French. My practice has grown rusty, so much that my tutors would be ashamed. But I tried to put at least one more phrase. I don't know how to say that. Oui, machete? Oui, machete? I don't know. Chirp. I must have said the wrong words as the poor bird began to tremble. Parlez-vous anglais? I know that one. It says, that is like, do you speak English? Yes, jip jip. Cats? No cats, please. What are you doing? I'm trying to get that key up there. What are you doing, little bird? Just having lots of fun every day. Not doing anything in particular. Now that the Red Queen, I mean Her Majesty, is missing, Wonderland is so much more wonderful. We can play and frolic as we want. Auntie Bird got in trouble for breaking Her Majesty's laws, and now there's no more Auntie Bird. I was so sad. Her Majesty was so scary. You won't tell on me, right? You look like a nice person. Much nicer than her. Oh, I see. I'll help you with the key. Puffing out his little chest, the bird flapped its wings and took off upwards into the sky. It flew and flew, but soon enough became tired. Not reaching the key on the tree, the bird faltered and fluttered back down. It dipped its head in disappointment. Sorry, can't do it. Hold on. Say it again. We can pet the bird, or we can kill the bird. Destroy it. Watch the life escape from its eyes. Sure, why not? Yay! It's okay. I don't know, there's like a sound effect when you click on the decision. It's like, you did it! The more it chirped, the worse his voice grated on my ears. I picked up the bird in my hand thinking it would shut up. You shouldn't offer things you can't accomplish. Yeah? Without thinking, I squeezed the bird in my hand. No, kill the bird. Too late! I killed the bird. Because I want to see what happens when you do that. It let out a strangled cry and pecked at any skin it could hit, squirming and wriggling before it went still between my fingers. Now my palm was dirty, dripping with bird. Oh, I washed my hands. I shook off my hands as if that would help get rid of some of the filth and wiped the rest off with a handkerchief that I surely had to throw away. Oh, I killed a bird. Okay. Yeah, after the first attempt at the key, I returned to the White Queen's side. She looked fitting in the cage, pretty, like a flower preserved forever in glass. Again, I thought that she was beautiful. Really, she was beautiful. That's true, Alice. Weird. Why did Alice talk to herself in third person? Anyway, even so, I couldn't let her stay trapped, not to mention the Red Queen's leg. I wasn't able to find a way up. Do you have any ideas for what I should do, White Queen? Over there are some mushrooms. If you eat the ones to the left, you will grow. If you eat the ones to the right, you will shrink. I think they'll be helpful. Magic mushrooms? Are you trying to make me... Are you trying to drug me, White Queen? I was hesitant to eat mushrooms picked from unknown wilderness, but I felt that I could trust the White Queen. Why, I didn't know. Well, this is Wonderland, isn't it? I had forgotten something important. The feeling of forgetting tingled in the back of my mind whenever I saw the White Queen. You know, I didn't see we got punished for... I was thinking when we killed the bird, like some kind of like giant bird would come in and kill us or something, but I guess not. We just killed the bird. Oh, oh well. Well, finding the mushroom she pointed out, I faced a choice. Okay, we could choose to shrink or grow for some reason. I mean, the obvious decision would be to grow, so let's shrink instead. I'm just doing the wrong... I'm gonna try to do the wrong things, because I know there's dead ends in this game. I want to see what the dead ends are, you know? I'm gonna shrink. Haha. Eating a mushroom from the right, I immediately began to shrink. The world around me swelled in size and became tiny, so tiny I could disappear. Before I could look around, a gust of strong wind blew me from my feet. I picked myself back up to my feet and saw a monstrous bird before me, looming over my body with a grey shadow. No, I had been the one who shrank, so the bird was not monstrous, I was simply diminished. The ground trembled as it stepped toward me as if to step on me. I rolled just out of the way. You killed her! Oh, okay. No. Okay, yeah. As I mentioned. Who again? Beep! My unintentionally voiced question was a mistake. The bird lunged at me. I made a mad dash out of the way, just barely avoiding the hurtling mass that came my way. Just as I grasped to catch my breath, its claw foot slammed down on me. A nail pierced through my shoulder. Ah! I heard a bone crack. The bird grabbed me and threw me like a rag doll to the ground again, forcing the air in my lungs. Pushing down the screaming pain in my body, I focused on my racing heart and tried to get away, only to be hit by the bird again. I bit through my tongue in shock and choked out a mouthful of spit and blood. Its beak snapped around one arm and tore. Well, we did hear the ripping sound. The bird crushed down my leg and pulled. Next went the other leg. This is what you get! It screamed with a mouthful of my blood, chucking my limbs across the grass. My remaining arm extended forward to grab the ground and try to get away. My consciousness spun. I didn't know which way I was going. I just needed to get away. I needed to drag this body away somewhere. Everything turned so cold already. I was going to die. The bird stepped on me with all its weight and with 1, no 2, 3 vicious stabs, chopped off the last arm into a pulp. This bird was a monster. I twisted my neck to look at the thing that would kill me. I was gonna kill this thing if I had the chance. With one thrust, his beak gored through my head. And there you go. That's what you get. Yep, deserved. That's what you get when you kill a bird. And also shrink yourself, you know, if you didn't shrink yourself, you know, obviously that you wouldn't get killed by the bird, but I wanted to see what would happen, so there you go. You know, I have a feeling we're gonna die as much as Shiro, you know, from Fate's Day Night, if I keep this up. But let's see. Let's not do that. I mean, actually, I don't know. What kind of combinations happens when you do that? I don't know. Let's go back here, actually. And let's just pet the bird this time. Let's not kill the bird. Don't worry about it. I rubbed the little bird's head, causing it to peek up at me with his large round eyes glittering with surprise. Wow. This time, we're not going to murder it. And therefore, yeah, this just goes back here. Alright. I don't know what happens when you shrink. Yeah, I'm gonna try it, actually. What happens when you shrink, but you don't kill the bird? I wonder what happens. I ate the right mushroom and making straight the world around me swelled in size. I was afraid I would shrink to nothing, but I soon stopped shrinking. I must have been the size of a doll. Looking upward, I found that the key upon the tree was even further away. I hadn't quite thought my decision through. Yeah, it's the wrong thing to do. A gust of wind blew past. Another bird appeared, towering over me. The bird who previously helped me also looked large, but this new arrival outsized my little friend. Hello, Chirp. I heard you needed some help? I hadn't thought you were going to be this small, but whatever works. Never know with them humans around here. I paused for a moment to take in this new bird. This time, it's not gonna murder me, you know? I should have been surprised more when the bird spoke, so I decided to take in his stride and enjoy the offer of aid we're given. I need the key. I need to get the key up there. Well, that's probably a bit hard for you, ain't it? Since you're so chirp and tiny. You were so nice to Birdie over there, so I'll let you ride my back and we can go get that key of yours together. How about that? Good. I climbed onto the bird's back, admiring the look of its feathers up close. I made myself comfortable and grabbed onto its neck. Hold on tight, buddy. Alright, so, I wonder what happens actually. If you grow large, maybe, you just grab the key and then you go, and nothing bad happens as well. I don't know. So either way, this will be a solution, as long as you don't kill the bird. With a flap of his wings, the bird began to fly. Assuming I don't fall off. Assuming Alice doesn't, fall off from the flight. Anyway. Whoosh! The wind blew past me, throwing my hair into disarray. My cloak fluttered behind me wildly. In a few moments, we reached the key at the top of the tree. I grabbed it, placing my arm through the loop to hold it while riding the bird. The key was heavy. A silver thing almost as big as me. We descended, and I dropped the key to the ground. Thank you for the assistance. Welcome. Don't expect a free ride again, though. I'm gonna grab Birdie and go, so have fun with your own thing, tiny human. The bird left with his smaller friend. I legged the key over to where the White Queen sat, breathing heavily when I finally walked the full distance of the way in my hands. The key I now had, but the cage I could not open. I was much too small. The magic will wear off. In the meantime, would you accompany me to chat, Alice? That may be for the best. I would have to wait until I reverted back to my original size to open the door. Is the invitation for tea sometimes still open? Yes, always. Then shall I ask about what sorts of foods and tea you like to drink to see what I might expect? What's your favorite tea? White tea. Do you prefer black tea still? How did you know? We chatted for a while about tea and at some point the conversation turned to flowers. Perhaps it was that she felt ambivalently on floral teas. You're welcome to visit the garden any time. I couldn't find the way to the garden today. Perhaps getting lost had been for the better, as I found her in the end. Yes, that happens when I'm not there, but Wonderland should lead you my way if you think of me, at least for you, Alice. I have nowhere to be but the garden. She paused, looking at something in the distance I could not see. Would you believe me if I told you I can see the future? I looked her in the eyes and ascertained a calm surety. I didn't feel that she would lie, yet I couldn't quite believe her words either. I wondered what I had forgotten, what I was doubting. Rather than answer, I decided to play along. Can you change the future you see? Why do you ask? Otherwise, isn't it lonesome? I don't believe that the future is predestined, but the solitude of such a power would also be the fate of a queen in this world. The words sounded contradictory, even for the Red Queen, especially for the Red Queen. The White Queen spoke of fate as if it's still trapped by something more than just this birdcage. I couldn't understand. We talked a little longer. I felt a tingling up my arms and began to revert to my usual size. The world warped and finally popped back into its proper place. I twirled around to check that all was well. Identifying no issues, I picked up the key that I dropped to the ground at some point and inserted it into the lock of the White Queen's birdcage. With a smooth click, the cage unlocked and I opened the door. The White Queen stumbled off the birdcage, her legs so wobbly from sitting in the cage for so long. She let me hold her steady till she rebalanced herself. Thank you. You're welcome. I ought to return to the garden now, but my invitation is always open, Alice. I'll see you later if you're willing. And then we got, I was saying how we never see the limbs. Now we do. It's quite clean for a chopped off limb. Well, she handed me the Red Queen's leg. Freed from the birdcage, the White Queen departed to return to her garden. After wandering around some more, I returned to the Hatter's place with the second limb in hand. The day came to an end, but the Hatter's clock remained at tea time. I was gonna say the gay, because I read day as gay. I don't know. There's some kind of Freudian slip there. She was arguing with her own hand puppet about some sort of song, some rendition of Twinkle Twinkle. The hair on her hand was flung back and forth. I waited it out, seeing as she started laughing by herself halfway through. Apparently she couldn't sing. Once her shoulders stopped shaking, the Hatter turned to me. Alice, you voyeur? I see you bought a second one. That one is one, and this one is two. Good work. The Hatter clapped her wrists half a dozen times. Alice, won't you join us for tea again today? Hatter made scones. It was butter! Or it has butter. It's not was butter, it has butter. Thank you for the invitation, Dormouse. Upon my response to the Dormouse, she immediately brightened up. If it would make her the Hatter happy, I didn't see why not just play along. Leg! Sitting aside her puppet friends, she extended an open palm toward me. I proceeded to commit lèse majesté? What is that? So much French! Lèse majesté by tossing the limb over the Hatter's tea table to her. I took a seat in my armchair, seeing her clumsily catch it in her arms. At my seat there was already a cup of tea prepared. With a free hand, the Hatter opened up the doll cage and retrieved the other limb. Do you need any help with that? I have everything under control. Without another pause, the Hatter stuck the limbs onto the Red Queen's torso. The flesh sounded with a squelch as the muscle, skin, and bone began to knit into place. Still, a red line remained where the limbs connected. I took a bite of the scone. As the Hatter said, it had butter. The Red Queen's incomplete body twitched, something squirming under the skin. I spread some clotted cream and jam into the scone. The perfect blend of sweetness made me wonder where she got the jam. It was very red. Ow! The single-arm grabbed at the Hatter, smacking as it squirmed. The Hatter kicked the incomplete Red Queen, rendering the limbed hunk of meat paralyzed with shock, and the Hatter forced his limbs off. A bit of blood and something else dripped on the ground. This is just, again, very casual here. Ripping the writhing limbs in her hands, the Hatter popped open the dog cage door of her feet and chucked them in. With a thud into the cage, the arm and leg went. Good scones. Yes, watching all of this. Thank you. You mentioned you also had some business with the Red Queen, Hatter, but what is it? Something to do with the red, something to do with the flesh. I realized I didn't quite know. A personal matter, Alice. I preferred if you didn't pry. I was the one gathering the pieces, so of course I wanted to know. Then again, the Hatter could just as well put the corpse together herself. A better question was how she obtained the first chunk of meat, but I doubted she would answer. I was curious, after all. Not every Hatter keeps the Red Queen's dismembered body at their table, much less treats it like you do. The White Rabbit is searching for the Red Queen right now, you see. And the Red Queen is right here. At least part of her was. No one likes the White Rabbit. She's just a simp, you see. Now, why did you tell her, Alice? Well, I didn't feel like it. The White Rabbit was boring. I had the feeling that telling her anything about the corpse sitting with us wouldn't help me much. You saved me from the dungeon. In that dark, dank place, a hat's not enough for the code. Dungeons here aren't for keeping, but for killing. I see. Let's commit las images together. Surely the Red Queen will forgive us for piecing her together? I much prefer this, Mad Hatter. No, Alice. This is much closer to blasphemy. We have no choice but to beg the wrathful god for forgiveness, don't you know? I couldn't help but think of Osiris, the judge of the dead, cut to pieces by his own brother. Even a god king, rather a god queen, could be chopped up and rendered helpless. The tutors will be proud of me for remembering. Yes. Is that so? It'll be good working with you, Hatter. I offered a hand to shake. Seeing her hesitation, I expected her to reject my outstretched hand, but she instead grabbed my finger with an expression filled with uncertainty. I thought that she would try to pull my finger off. However, she only gripped me weakly and shook it up and down before letting it go once more. She was a bit gloomier for the time after. Okay, weird. Weirder than usual. Well, night fell and another day ended. What did I dream of? I must have forgotten. Only 2 more limbs and a head remained. I continued on my venture to collect the Red Queen, so that I could finally meet her and find a way back home. Step, step, step. I walked around this upside-down world. Alright. Well, there you go. I guess we just have to continue finding more limbs and see what happens when you put it back together.